The torture, murder, and kidnap of Craig Rice, a homosexual sophomore boy from Gettysburg in 1985. His murderer, a fellow high school boy, served 7 years convicted of voluntary manslaughter on circumstantial evidence, and the appeal renders some bizarre aspects. Since going public about local scandals, we've had some bizarre submissions of underground police drug ring involving Craig Rice's hate crime cop murder. Our friend Gabby at our sister page, Locals of Adams County Uncover Scandals, dug up a public YouTube submission by Don Cool testifying about the Craig Rice murder. It went viral locally, and many have come forward to corroborate Don's story. So we invited Don Cool down here to give us a full account of his knowledge of the hate crime murder of Gettysburg sophomore Craig Rice. Thanks, Don. Appreciate your time for coming down here.
Well, thanks for letting me be here.
Yeah, buddy. Well, absolutely. Go ahead and just give us a brief backstory of the underground drug ring and the situation in Gettysburg around that time.
Gettysburg in the 1980s was a very much so a hot spot for the drug activities, illegal, corrupt police officials.
Okay, so what were they doing?
Like that. They were establishing dominance over the county and over the city of Gettysburg because they wanted to protect their illegal doings, the drug activities, the prostitution, illegal gambling, you name it, they were doing it.
All right, who was running this league and how are they doing it?
One of the top heads of it was Judge Oscar F. Spicer.
Okay.
He was one of the top heads of it. They would run drugs out of the evidence room of the Adams County Courthouse, including Judge Spicer's daughter, Amy.
Okay.
And Craig Rice. Craig Rice happened to be a member of the organized crime ring. And that
Who else was
shop.
involved in running it specifically? Like, were departments, police specifically what I'm getting at?
Right.
Who else was running this ring?
The Gettysburg Borough Police.
Okay.
There was probably 4, maybe 5 good cops total on the Gettysburg Borough Police Force during that time period. All the rest were dirty. Pennsylvania State Police.
Who specifically?
They're the Gettysburg Borough, the Gettysburg Barracks. From homicide detectives to just troopers, in that category. Then you had attorneys, the district attorney, sub-district attorneys, defense attorneys, across the downtown Gettysburg.
So it was a law racket.
It was a huge racket, yes.
Okay.
It was a huge racket. Mostly either people directly involved with the judicial system, but there were also small business owners that were involved in it as well.
Like organized crime.
Right.
What did they call themselves?
Locally, we've known them as the Members Only Club because
why?
they wore a Members Only jacket.
Okay.
And each one who was a member of the club, like Craig Rice, for example, he wore a gray Members Only jacket. And each collar, whether it was a gray collar, a black collar, a red collar, or a white collar, showed the rest of the members where your level was at inside the club.
Pretty standard for organized crime.
Right.
All right. So, good. So how do you know all of this stuff?
When I was in 9th grade, and this might come as a shock to a lot of my classmates to hear this, but when I was in 9th grade, I watched this guy provide free drugs to a 5th or 6th grader at the Kefauver Elementary School. And when I saw that, it really ticked me off. And I said, something's got to be done about this. And, well, I decided to take matters in my own hand. So I started reporting drug activity to Cumberland Township Chief of Police Barry Cease.
Okay.
And eventually, Chief Cease sent me over to Robert Ackerman, Pennsylvania State Police homicide detective, to give out this information. However, at that time, I didn't know that Robert Ackerman was a homicide detective. I thought he was in narcotics.
So what was your relationship after that point with Robert Ackerman?
Um, when I realized after about 3 years there was never an arrest made.
You were a paid informant.
No, I was not paid.
You were not a paid informant.
Right, I was not paid. But when I realized that there was no arrest being done to very good, sound information that I
You
gave,
were reporting good information as a good citizen and nothing was happening on it.
right, exactly.
Okay.
That's when I started realizing maybe something corrupt is going on with the police.
Okay, and how else do you know about this whole racket, though? You wouldn't know that just from reporting crimes.
Well, I started digging to find out just how corrupt the police were, and that's how I found out about the rest of the racket with Judge Spicer and Michael George. He was the district attorney at the time. Now he's currently the president judge of Adams County.
How do you know this pertinent information, though? How do you know this information?
Digging.
Digging.
Yep, doing my own investigating. Digging. Plus threats on my life. Harassment because I was getting too close. So, yeah. And then, of course, my great uncle was the sheriff at the time, Bernie Miller. And talking with some of the Gettysburg Borough police officers, such as Slim.
You don't have more personal, intimate knowledge of this whole situation that you were just born into.
What do you mean?
Previously, you mentioned that there was that.
Okay.
Yeah, are you willing to talk about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. My father and my one brother were involved with the members only club.
Okay.
And it's one of those situations where you can't see the forest because of the trees. And so I didn't realize, I saw them wearing their members only jackets. Mm-hmm. And I didn't put two and two together. And until after or during the killing of Craig Rice.
Okay, so you have intimate knowledge because you have family members that were active members, and you weren't subverting them, but you were doing what you believed at the time was the right thing and providing police with good information.
Right. My brother and my father both told me to stop doing what I was doing before I got killed. And that was even before Craig Rice's murder.
Before who got killed?
Before Craig Rice.
Before Craig Rice got killed. Okay. All right. So moving on. There's reports of some of the police trading Craig drugs for sexual favors. These are just the things that are coming around and getting caught. Why do you say that he had to die, that Craig had to die? Why in all this time that they've had this going on did Craig have to die now?
I'm glad you asked that because the day before Craig was kidnapped, I bumped into Craig Rice in the alley that ran behind Gettysburg High School, where it's now the old Gettysburg High School building. And bumped into him. He stopped. We talked. And he told me why. He told me, he says, I'm a dead man. And you're going to be next. And this is why I'm a dead man. And what he told me was he had been getting drugs from out of the evidence room at the Adams County Courthouse and transporting them to an apartment above T&S Menswear, where he would drop the drugs off and to a guy that all he knew at the time was he's just a guy that I'm dropping drugs off to. And what his downfall was, the guy identified himself, the guy who was taking the drugs, doing the drugs, the cocaine, the guy who had a very bad cocaine habit. He identified himself to Craig as being Pennsylvania State homicide detective Robert Ackerman. Pulled a gun on him to scare him, and Craig decided that he was going to report and expose the whole racket.
So this was pretty heavy stuff for a sophomore boy to be getting into.
Right.
Yeah, he's having some party favors with some drugs. Who knows what's going on? It's his life. Who are we to judge? But things got too serious at one point, says your claim of talking to him before he died. So that's pretty astounding information. So going on to the next day, how do you know who killed him?